So very good morning to all my dear students. Already we had started the new topic. What is the name? What is the name of the new topic? What is the name of the new unit? Yes, very correct. It is the tablet, right? So let us begin with the tablet from the industrial pharmacy. So we are onto the tablet, and all these are the details that already we had covered in our previous lecture. That is the ideal properties, advantages, disadvantages, classification, then the different types of the tablet, effervescent tablet, sublingual tablet, lozenges. Then we saw what are the modified release tablet, extended release tablet, delayed release tablet. We saw the pattern of drug release for the different types of tablets, and we are onto the excipients. Just we had begun with the excipient, and while understanding the details of the excipient, we took a classical example from the kitchen, which is our very favorite place. Why every time I am going into the kitchen? Because the process of drug manufacturing, that can be correlated, that can be understood very well from our kitchen only. Because in case of kitchen, we are going to be formulating something, we are going to be manufacturing something, that is what is said to be the delicious dishes and the food materials. And in case of pharmaceutical industry, what we are doing, these delicious food materials and dishes, these are correlated with that of the dosage forms. So anyhow, somehow these processes are related one. They involve the formulation, they involve the development, they involve the manufacturing, they involve the addition of active constituent, they involve the addition of ancillary things, they involve addition of some supplementary things. So what is active constituent? That is drug in case of pharma. Whereas in case of our kitchen, what it is, if we are talking about the vegetable, the main constituent of the vegetable, that is the active constituent. While understanding this, we took an example of the aloo gobi, isn't it? We want to prepare a dish for the aloo gobi vegetable. So aloo gobi, that is the main active constituent. Aloo we require gobi. But simply the work will not come out by having the aloo and gobi. In addition to that, we require several number of ingredients, chemicals, we require the various supplementary things, we require the spices, isn't it? In order to produce a delicious dish of the vegetable. Same is the case associated in case of pharma, right? We had studied the actual API, which is the main constituent for any kind of dosage form. But in order to produce that particular dosage form, the work will not come out simply by taking the active pharmaceutical ingredient. In addition to the active pharmaceutical ingredient, we require supplementary and ancillary things and substances and agents and constituents. So these are properly called as excipients. So these are going to be added in order to give bulk to that of the actual API formulation, or to give some specific properties, or to carry out some specific functions, right? So that is what is the excipient. So an excipient is an inactive substance. What the excipient is? It is the inactive substance. Why it is called as inactive substance? Because excipient, they do not impart any kind of pharmacological effect. That is the job of the API. That is the job of the active pharmaceutical ingredient. So that's why excipients are what? These are inactive substances used as a carrier. for the active ingredient of a medication. They will act as a carrier, they will impart specific function, they will impart specific properties. Now, these excipients, these are going to be selected as from vegetable to vegetable. Our ingredient selection that will differs. In the same way, in case of pharmacy, in case of pharmaceutical manufacturing, based on the dosage form, we can go for choosing the particular kind of excipient. Let us say, for example, if we want to prepare and formulate the tablet, what we are selecting? We are selecting the binding agent, we are selecting the disintegrating agent, we are selecting lubricant, anti-adherent, glycant. If our interest is to produce the elixir, or if our interest is to produce the suspension or emulsion, in case of suspension, we do not require all these ingredients which we had selected for the tablet. Instead of that, what we require the wetting agent, we require the suspending agent. If it is the emulsion, we require the emulsifying agent, we require the viscosity modifier, we require the thickening agent, right? So that is what is the excipients, and these are going to be selected based on the particular kind of dosage form, based on the nature of the drug, based on the other excipient, based on the compatibility with the drug and other excipient. That means the selected ingredient, that means the selected excipient, they should not interact with that of the other ingredient and with that of the active pharmaceutical ingredient. They are selected on the basis of the desired release or performance characteristic of a tablet. Let us say, for example, if we want to produce a delayed release tablet, we require the polymeric agent. If we want to produce the disintegrating tablet, right, where it will goes into the stomach and quickly it will disintegrate and releases its active constituent. In this case, we do not require the polymers, so that their release that can be extended. So classification of excipients based on their importance. The excipients, these are classified as primary excipient and the secondary excipient. Now, what these primary excipients are? Primary excipient, they will impart the satisfactory compression characteristics to the formulation. So the excipient which will plays an important role, or which will offers the compression characteristic, compression properties to that of the particular formulation, these excipients are said to be the primary excipients. And what are the example? The various examples are the diluents, binders, glycans, and the lubricants. Whereas if the excipients, these, they will give the additional desirable physical characteristics to the finished product. Let us say, for example, if they will offer the particular taste, if they will offer a particular color, right? If they will offer polish, so these are said to be the secondary excipients. Why these are called secondary excipients? Because they give the additional desirable physical attributes and characteristics to that of the finished tablet. So that's why these are said to be the secondary excipients. And what these are? These are the disintegrating agent, these are coloring agent, these are flavoring agent, and these are the sweetening agents. So this is what is the classification of the excipients. These are classified as primary excipient, secondary excipient. Primary excipient, they will offer the compression characteristics. Examples are the diluent, binder, glycant, lubricant. The secondary excipient, they will offer the additional desirable physical characteristics to that of the finished tablet. And these are the coloring, flavoring, sweetening agent, along with that of the disintegrating agent. Then there is the excipient, another, which is said to be the filler or diluent. Now, what this filler and diluent will do, just concentrate onto the particular term, filler. That means they will going to fill the gap, isn't it? Now, which is this gap? Let us say, for example, if the weight of the tablet, it is 100 milligram, and if you will see the label, that label will contain that 1 milligram XYZ tablet. right? So this 1 milligram, that is the active pharmaceutical ingredient, but the actual weight of the tablet is 100 milligrams. So how this 99 milligram is obtained, how this could be filled? So this is filled with the help of the filler. So this gap 100 minus 1, that is API. So that is 99 one. So this 99 milligram, this gap will going to be filled with the help of use of the filler. At the same time, they will act as a diluent. They will dilute the active pharmaceutical ingredient. So that will causes the even distribution of the 1 milligram of API throughout the 100 milligram of the tablet. So these add bulk to that of the tablet for compression and easy handling, right? It is very difficult to compress the 1 milligram tablet. So in order to offer easy compression property, these fillers, they are going to be added. At the same time, it is very difficult to handle a very small amount of API. So in that case, if we are adding fillers and the diluent, so that will cause the easy handling. Diluents weigh 10 to 20 fold of the dosage form, right? Whatever the quantity of API is there, compared to that, say around 10 to 20 fold quantity is for the diluents. What are the examples? Yes, all these are the number of examples: glucose, sodium chloride, sucrose, mannitol. Mannitol especially it is used in case of the chewable tablet. It is freely soluble in water. It will give the cooling aftertaste, that is because of its negative heat. There is microcrystalline cellulose, which will be used as an excellent compression agent. It has the compression properties and it is highly stable, as well as it will offer the disintegrating property. Which one? Microcrystalline cellulose. So that means it is the multifunctional ingredient. It is multifunctional excipient. It will offer compression property. It is more stable. It will offer disintegrating property. And it is advisable to go for use of the multifunctional excipients so that the complications that can be reduced and the cost of production that can be reduced, so that the ultimate final product that would be made available at a cheaper rate, at a affordable price. Now what the binders are, right? Do you remember why you need the cement to build a particular house? Yes, we are constructing the home, and in order to construct the home, we require the cement. At the same time, when we want to prepare the chapatis or the puris, what we are adding into that one? We are adding the water. So this water that will act as a binder, this cement that will act as a binder in case of construction of a home or building, right? So these are added for offering the cohesive strength after the compression. In case of tablet formulation too, we need to add the binder for the cohesive properties after the compression. That means the whole things that should be kept united, that should be kept integrated. So that is what is the binder. What are the examples? The examples are the acacia, mucilage, glucose, gelatin, povidone, PVP, starch, mucilage. All these are very commonly used as a binder. Next is the disintegrant. The tablet is needed to be dissolved in gastrointestinal fluid for getting absorbed, and for getting dissolved it is needed to be disintegrated. And in order to disintegrate into smaller particles, there is a need to add the disintegrant. You can see the tablet that is in the aqueous media, this directly it will goes into the solution. Or sometimes the tablet that will get disintegrated into the granule will get formed, and these granules, they will goes into the solution with the moderate rate of drug dissolution. In third case, the tablet that will get disintegrated into granules, the granules, they will get disintegrated into the finer particles, and these fine particles, they will goes into the solution. And this is the faster rate of drug dissolution due to increase in the surface area. As the particle size that will go on reducing, the surface area that is getting increased. So larger will be the surface area, more will be the contact surface. So that will causes the faster solution formation. So all these are the three different ways. One is direct going into solution, next through the granules, or next through the granules and fine particle directly going into the solution. So ultimate aim is to get solution, and this can be enhanced with the help of addition of the disintegrating agent, which further directly goes into the bloodstream. So you can see in this particular animated slide that there is a tablet. The tablet is falling into the water, a glass of water, then it is getting disintegrated, right? You can see how it will happen. The tablet is getting falling into the glass of water. It is getting falling into the glass of water. Once it will get fall, then it start its process of disintegration. You can see that how the tablet that will move to the process of disintegration, then directly there is a formation of the solution. So here the tablet that is reached to the stomach, it will get disintegrated and it will get dissolved. So that will make the tablet to break down into the smaller particles after oral ingestion. For example, which agents are used as a disintegrant? The cross-povidone, cross-armalosodium, sodium starch glycolate. So these agents are very commonly used as a disintegrating agents. Next is the glidant. So again, the next important excipient or adjuvant that is needed in order to formulate the tablet is said to be the glidant. What the glidants will do? Yes, from the name itself, they will glide, they will slide, isn't it? Or they will enhance, they will improve the process of gliding or sliding. Why it is important? It is important in order to reduce the friction between the particles. They will improve the flow properties of tablet granules and powders during the processing, like the mixing, moving for the compression. During the process of tablet production, the granule they have to move from hopper to that of the feed frame to that of the actual dies. So for this, there is need to possess the flow property. There is a need to have the gliding property. And in order to impart this particular gliding property, what we are using? We are using the cornstarch, talc, and the colloids silicates as a gliding agent. In addition to gliding agent, we require the lubricants, right? So this is the next ingredient, that lubricant they will ensure that the tablet possesses a smooth surface, right? The tablets is getting compressed between the upper lower punch inside of the die. So there are surfaces that should be smooth one, and in order to get the smooth surface we require the addition of the lubricating agent. They will reduce the friction between the tablet wall and the die wall, right? So the tablet need to be ejected out of the die wall, out of the die cavity. So in order to reduce the friction during the process of ejection and to get the smooth surface, we require the addition of the lubricant. So what are the lubricant and their examples? The talc, stearic acid, and the silicates. These are used as a lubricant during the process of tablet manufacturing. So in addition to the glidant lubricant, we require the addition of the anti-adherent. Against adherents sticking with each other. So against the adherents, against this sticking, these agents, they will act against this sticking and they will stop the sticking of the tablet and will possess the smooth surface. They will reduce the friction between the tablet wall and the die walls. Example of the antiadherent, that is the talc, magnesium stearate, and the starch derivatives. In addition to all these, so what are the different excipients that we saw? Yes, please, what these are? These are the correct. Please tell me. Yes, these are the diluents or fillers. Next, binder. Next, disintegrant. Next, glidant. Next, lubricant. Next, antiadherent. Right? So in addition to all these, what we require the other excipient which are said to be the coloring agent, flavoring agent, and wherever they require, there is need to add the sweetening agent in order to mask the taste and the odor and to improve the acceptance of the tablet formulation. So after going through the excipients, the next is the manufacturing of the tablet. So the tablet that could be manufactured through the two different steps. Now these different steps are classified as step 1 and step 2. So what is the step 1? Step 1, that is said to be the blending of drug with the excipient. So blending, that is nothing but the mixing process of the active drug with that of the excipient, which already just now we saw the number of excipients, and preparing the granule through the process which is said to be the granulation. The second step that will involve the compression of all these things. So the compression by the punches into the die cavity between the upper and the lower punch inside of the given space, that is said to be the die cavity, the granules that will subjected to that of the compression. So there is a direct compression. So the direct compression that will skip out the process of granulation, and that may be practiced for the drugs and excipients with the good compactability and low stickiness, but not always it is feasible. It is also advisable to go for the direct compression when the drugs that are sensitive to the heat, and when the drugs that are sensitive to that of the compression property, and when the drugs that are very sensitive to that of the addition of the binding agent, that is the drug that will subject it to that of the hydrolysis when they will come in contact with that of the aqueous binder. Now in this case, there is need to go for mixing and granulation. So granulation is what? Granulation is the process of combining particles together by creating bonds between them. Right? Now in order to understand this, again we have to move to our kitchen, isn't it? The very delicious sweet. Now there is a festive season, like Sepola. Again there is a Ganpati festival. Very soon there is Dashara. Very soon there is Deepavali, isn't it? So this will become the routine part of our kitchen. That is the preparation of the besan laddus. Have you seen preparation of the besan laddus? Yes, we require the coarse besan or fine besan. The besan which is available into the market, that is the gram flour, that we will not use for the preparation of the besan laddus, right? Instead of that, what we are doing, we are taking the gram dal, and then we are subjecting gram pulses, and then we are subjecting it to the process of flooring mill, right, in order to obtain the coarse besan. So that coarse besan is required in order to prepare the besan laddus. Now, why particularly? Because they will offer the bonds, and that is what is the reason that why particularly in case of pharmaceutical tablet manufacturing, we are going for the process of the granule formation or the granulation process. Otherwise, what we can do, we can directly go with the powdered material, the powdered drug substances. But the desired property that cannot be achieved with the help of use of the fine uh, excipients. So for which we need to go for the process of the granulation. Now, why the granulation is required? There are specific objectives. Now, what these objectives are? They will assure an even distribution of the active compound in the final tablet, right? If we are going for granulation, during the process of granulation, before that we have to go for the mixing. So whatever the 5 milligram, 10 milligram of the API is there, in order to mix it uniformly into the 100 milligram tablet, in order to ensure that, in order to assure the uniform mixing of the API with that of the tablet, with that of the batch, there is a need to go for the granulation process. It will ensure the content uniformity due to narrow size range. Yes, the quantity of API is very small. If you are not going for uniform mixing, if you are not going for the granulation process, what will happen? Sometimes somewhere in the corner, that API that will remain as such. So what is the result of this? The result of this is that in a particular batch, we may require the tablet with the varying proportion of the API, or sometimes few tablets they do not contain uh, any amount of API, or there is a nil API, and few tablet they will contain large amount of API than that of which is mentioned, than that which is desired one. So again, the granulation that will be having its importance to increase the density for easy storage and shipment. The fine particle that is very difficult to handle because of its fine nature, because of its bulk density and larger volume. So in order to offer the density to that of this fine powdered material and to reduce its volume, we need to go for the process of the granulation. The granulation that is important to improve the flow and the compact. The fine powder that is very difficult to flow. It will not possess the good flow properties. Instead of that, if we are going for preparation of the tablet, that will remain free flowing. Again, take the classical example of the salt or sugar, the sugar powder and the sugar crystal. Which one will move freely? Yes, very correct. The sugar crystal, they will move very freely than that of the fine powder sugar one, right? So that's coarse sugar crystal, that is nothing but the granulated form. Same is the case associated with that of the this salts also, isn't it? The Captain Cook salt that is freely flowing. Other salts, these are not free flowing. So it is a very important to have the good flow property. So all these are the reasons, all these are the objectives for which the granulation is required in order to ensure the even distribution, to ensure the content uniformity, to increase the density, which will be easy to handle, store and ship, and to improve the flow property and to offer the compaction property. The powdered material that will not possess the compaction property, whereas the granules, they will possess the compaction property. So there are two different methods by which we can go for preparation of these granules. That is said to be the wet granulation and the dry granulation. Now, in order to produce the granules, they will involve the different mechanisms. And what these mechanisms are? These mechanisms are wetting, nucleation, coalescence, growth, consolidation, attrition, breakage, right? So by solid bridges, by chemical reaction, by sintering crystallization, deposition of the particle, and adhesive and cohesive forces of the high viscous binders. Wetting, because of the addition of the binding agent, they will get wetting property, as a result of which the fine particle that will comes together and to form the granules. Nucleation. Nucleation, it is the process in which the particle, they will come closer and closer one and to form the nuclei. Coalescence or the growth. The particle, they will stick with each other and they will grow. They will coalesce with each other. Consolidation, they will get consolidated by coming close in contact with each other. They will forming the bond between them. They will forming the bridge between them. They will offer the charges, and because of that charges, they will remain united with each other. Some chemical reaction that will occur between them. So all these are the different mechanisms by which the particle, they will come, they will cohere, they will united with each other, and that will lead to the process of the granule formation. If you want to go, you can go through the details of all these. But as far as our syllabus requirement is concerned, just to know what are the different mechanisms by which the granules they will get formed. So that's why I have mentioned all these here. For further detail, you need to go on exploring the each and every mechanism. You are going to come to know the pages of the details. So this is the method which is said to be the wet granulation, isn't it? The preparation of the chapatis or preparation of the bed, right? Bread. So for which we need to add the water. Water that will act as a binding agent. It will act as a granulating agent. So what do you need for that? For the preparation of the chapatis, from the powder to form the dough, and then to form the small balls, then to go on flattening it in order to produce the chapati, and then to either if it is the puri, we have to go for frying, or if it is the chapati, we have to go for the roasting it. So yes, very correct. What we need to require, we need to require have the water. Water. Directly we are adding the water? No. Slowly we are going on adding the water in order to get the desired consistency of the dough. Right? Again, we are not adding directly the required amount of water. Let us say, for example, if we require a glass of water for 1 kg of the flour, we are not completely adding the 1 glass of water at a time. Instead of that, what we are doing, we are slowly, partially, in some portions, we are adding this water, right? So again, that has its significance during its manufacturing. So that the liquid or say the particular dough or say the flour that should not become too much sticky, right? So there is need to add the slow in portions addition of the water. So using a liquid binder in optimum amount to lightly agglomerate the powdered mixture, we are adding it in the portions and it will act as a binding agent. So all these are the steps which are involved in case of white granulation. What are these steps? First, weigh active ingredient and the excipient. Once you had weighed all the excipients along with the active pharmaceutical ingredient, you need to add the liquid binder to the powder blend and mix it thoroughly. Then the second stage, which is said to be the mixing. First is weighing, second is mixing, third is what? Third is screening, right? So in case of the screening, what we are doing? We need to screen the damp mass through a mesh to get the pellets or the granules. Then there is a need to go with the drying, and after drying again, the mass is passed through a sieve, the finer ones that are earlier used, and then we are getting the final granules. So what are the different steps? Weighing, blending or mixing, then granule formation, then drying, then again getting the granules of uniform size. We need to pass it through the sieves in order to obtain the granules of uniform desired size and shape. So here, this is the particular equipment which is said to be the fluid bed granulator, right? Now this fluidized bed granulator, it is the equipment which is used in order to carry out the process of mixing, granulation, drying, and getting the granules of uniform size, right? So it is the multiple step granulator. So this is the wet granulator that will require or that will carry out all different steps. That's why it is said that it is a multiple step wet granulation process. And this could be carried out in case of the fluidized bed granulator. And the process are said to be the fluidized bed granulation. So it involves the all-in-one, that is the preheating, granulation and the dry heating of the powders. It will allow the close control of the granulation process. So all these processes that will be carried out in case of this fluidized